All right, Big Bang. Today is Thursday. It is May 9th. Welcome to the Dog Walk presented by Barstool Sports. Before I get into my interview today, I want to talk about ChevyDriveChicago.com because summer road trip season is coming up quick, if it hasn't already. It's been really nice here in Chicago. So now is the perfect time to get a new Chevy. The SUV lineup and the new Silverado truck has all the space you need to comfortably get to where you're going. ChevyDriveChicago.com has all the latest offers on all vehicles and can help you find your local Chevy dealer. Every Chevy is a number one pick. ChevyDriveChicago.com is the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears, which is awesome. Going to have all the boys out there driving those Chevys. And you can go to ChevyDriveChicago.com to learn more and see that whole fleet. I mean, it doesn't matter what you go with. Everything's going to be a fine crafted product. So whether you go with the Cruise or if you go with the Blazer or you go with the Suburban, get a little big there, Lance, you'll be happy with your purchase. ChevyDriveChicago.com is the place to go. Like I said, to learn more and really get a look at everything before you dip your toe in the market. So go check it out. All right, now to the episode. I'm joined by a former GNC employee. I put a call out there on Twitter a couple days ago looking for someone. So this has been on my list for people who know that I talk to like the blue collar jobs, like interview kind of thing. It's been on my list for a while. A GNC vitamin shop, just some type of supplement worker. And lo and behold, our friend Kenjac, the movie guy here at Barstool, worked there for 2 years in college. So Kenjac, welcome. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. I've been loving first of all hearing your interviews with all these guys. Like with a lot of jobs where like I feel like I just don't really know a lot of people that work in those spaces. Like it'll be like a sewer guy or whatever, like stuff like that. Just people I just don't know. And also I've been like just waiting on any opportunity of someone to ask me to shit on GNC. So very happy to talk about them.
Yeah, so I'm excited to do this because, like I said, the main reason why I always wanted to do this is because I feel like, and everyone goes through that phase when you're in high school sports where you go in there and you're always like, hey, how's this? And I feel like the answer from every GNC employee is, yeah, it's pretty good. Like it's a good product. It's pretty good. Is pretty good like the canned answer they tell you to give, or is that just something that comes naturally?
So I think that like with the way that the structure works for a GNC associate, you're being directed to sell certain things, right? And you have certain quotas. And this is like from 2012 to 2014. And that's what I've heard, the structure's changed a little bit. But at that point, you were directed, there's like, you need to hit certain quotas of selling certain products that are like specifically GNC products. And then you have incentives for other products. So for me personally, if I was saying like, yeah, it's good, that usually means like, I've never tried that in my life. I have no idea what that product is. No clue. And for me, if I say that, that means that there is no incentive for me to sell it.
Okay. All right. Then you'd be now, or do they teach you to, it's good, but let me show you this GNC brand that is
Basically, yeah.
okay.
It was a program, I think it was called P3s. So like you'd have to sell a certain percentage of all of your sales had to be P3 products. And all of those are basically all the GNC products, whether that's, whey protein, pre-workout, like anything like that. As long as it's like under the GNC brand, you needed to have, I think it was like 40% of all of your sales had to be GNC products. And if you weren't hitting that quota, you were like in deep shit.
Oh, no
And then,
shit. What, I
yeah,
don't
and
think
you
like
get
that's breaking news to anyone. Like even people who walked in there, you always felt like they were guiding you towards their products for sure. Hmm.
exactly, yeah. But then they offered you no incentive on that. Like essentially, it's just you have to do it. You're not getting paid anything to basically sell those. And then on top of that, there'd be other products where like they'd have different incentive structures, like certain things, like non-GNC products would give you different basically bonuses, or I guess commissions if you sold them. So like you basically the way, at least for me, you were constantly incentivized to lie and mislead and be like it would be like you're pushed your customer comes in, the first thing you want to do is push them towards a GNC thing. And if they say no to that, you push them towards whatever is giving you the next highest incentive. And then you might actually push them to something that is actually useful. That was like how the rigmarole would go.
Oh, okay. And what's the training process like? Walk me through that. So let's rewind a little bit. Do they give you like an educational thing where it's like, well, hey guys, this is our pre-workout line. This is our protein line. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so like you basically get like what I would assume is like a crash course in nutrition. Because like for me, like I was in high school. This is like not really just out. I was just out of high school. It was like right after my freshman year in college, and like I was in good shape. Like I knew some of this stuff just from like being active and working out then. But they give you like a crash course and like basic nutrition, and like, hey, this is the stuff you need to tell them about. Like this is like the base sort of things like, hey, you don't want regular whey protein because it takes too long to digest. You want hydrolyzed whey protein because it breaks down in water and that makes it faster to get into your system. You want casein protein to go to bed because it takes longer to digest. You have like all these different things. It's less as much an education as more just like talking points when they're
Hmm.
like, hey, pitch it this way because it'll make sense to somebody's dumb brain. And when I'm
Mm.
reading them, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense to my dumb brain. Like yeah, I should be taking casein protein at night, obviously.
Yeah. Now, was it like a meathead talking to you? Was that the case, or was it just kind of like a regular guy?
So for my location, it was I had a 70-year-old female manager,
Okay.
a 70-year-old woman. Saying female, I feel like is odd. But a 70-year-old woman was my manager. And my two coworkers were one guy who went on to become a doctor, and another guy who was like a amateur bodybuilder who was like a legit like a ball of meat, like just like humongous.
Yoked.
So those are my two coworkers. They didn't really teach you as so much like if you'd ask them questions and they would tell you stuff, but like you do everything else on the computer. And like they would just give you like a kind of a base sort of like almost like a human resources training video of like, hey, this is what this is. Hey, this is what this is. And then you'd have like a continuing ed you'd have to do every now and then just to like keep you updated on like a new product or whatever that they release.
Do you remember what they asked in like the interview process?
I don't really remember. I think like it was a lot of like, are you like, it's more about like, are you good at sales? Less so much like, are you into nutrition? Because I was like, I'm not big on any of that. Like I work out at least at the time, and it's like I know that stuff. I don't know a lot about these supplements, and there were a lot of supplements at GNC. Like a lot of them are stuff shit. They had a whole wall about like prenatal stuff. Like I don't know anything about that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's why like I always remember being like, there's no way. These you could be like sure, there's definitely people who have an background in that kind of shit that would know like most of the stuff, but there's just no way all these employees know that because it was always the answer was, yeah, that stuff's pretty good. Like it's pretty good. That was
That would be
always the
my answer
can.
if it was anything like prenatal or for most like women's nutrition things. So they don't teach you any of that. And then I think there was like a couple of like basic questions, like the you'd have people coming in for like the most like basically three things. So the first would be like you want to come in for protein because everyone knows like, oh, you need protein after you work out. Like that's the number one thing. Then it'd be pre-workout, which I came in right as Jacked 3D. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah.
The
That
method
shit was
one
great.
1,3-dimethylanolene. It was meth in it, like basically. It was like a product in it that had it made you test positive for methamphetamines.
Really?
And yeah, because of this, I think that was ingredient 1,3-dimethylanolene. And that was like I started working there right as they discontinued it, and people would come in asking for that nonstop, like legit, like addicts, like coming in and asking me like, "Hey, do you have the old Jack? Do you have the old Jack? You got to have some in the back. You have to have it. You have to have it." And we're just like, "No, I have C4. I have like here this regular thing with uh what is it called? Beta alanine, which is like this chemical that makes like your skin tingly when you take pre-workout, which like I don't know how to explain it, but like I don't know that it actually does anything other than make your blood vessels a little bit wider or something, or maybe stricter to increase blood flow. But like it makes your skin feel tingly, so you're like really wiry. But they come in for that, and then lastly would be people coming and trying to find out a way to cheat a drug test. That was like the big three, and the drug test is probably the most common.
Really? So how
Yeah,
how
and
how did that go?
we had these things and it would be called like 7-day flush kits or something. It's like, hey, you want to detoxify yourself. You know what I mean? Like you want to get all the bad stuff out of your system. They wouldn't say drugs. It would just be like you have a 7-day, I think it was a 7-day and a 14-day flush, both GNC brand, by the way, which is helpful for us because again, hitting that P3 quota. But they would come in, they'd ask for that. And if they asked specifically, like, I need something to beat a drug test, you had to refuse them and tell them to leave. So
Oh,
like if they
really?
started it, yeah, and like this is a big sale because like it would be like a pretty decent. I think it was like 50, $60 or something for like the 7-day, and like the 14-day was even more. So like you really wanted to sell it. So like what I would do was then if they come in and they'd start the sentence like, yeah, like I want something to beat it, like you'd interrupt them and be like, oh, you want something like, oh, you want something to help your system out, right? Flush your system out, flush your system out. That's it, right? Nothing else, just flush your system out. Tell me it's just to flush your system out. And like as soon as they said that, you'd be like, okay, I know what you want. You want that. And so there'd be a lot of that going on.
Wow, Kenjac, I think you just helped out a lot of people right now.
Yeah,
Who are,
don't ask for that if you're because you either it'll be a person that like you're afraid of secret shoppers basically. You know what I mean? Because they could get pretty much immediately fired. So
Mhm.
you don't go in and immediately ask for it. Say you need something to flush yourself out, and
Did you
that's
hear
when they'll
someone
direct you.
getting popped by a secret shopper or no?
No, but that'd be like the rumor that would always go around, like, hey, here's someone at XYZ location got popped by a secret shopper. And it wouldn't necessarily be just for that. It would be for other things. Like they'd be directing you to the wrong thing instead of like a non-GNC protein powder that has no commission, like Isopure or something instead of their one. So
Yeah,
it'd be a lot of
that's
that.
interesting because I would think a lot of people would be like, "Hey, I don't give a fuck. Like, I need to hit my quota. Like, yeah, this is it. Aisle
Hmm.
three. Go check that stuff out. That's where you're gonna flush out."
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I've never been in a situation where I needed to, beat a drug test like that. So I wouldn't know. I just assumed people like that like went to Walmart or Target or some shit. But I guess GNC would be a great spot to go.
Yeah, they'd always be asking about like different urban kind of like urban legends that they had heard about flushing out their system. Be like, oh, I heard if you drink a lot of green tea, it'll flush out your system. Like
Hmm.
just stupid shit that wouldn't obviously doesn't work. And like we'd just be like, just use these, don't eat anything, don't just drink a lot of water, do
Yeah.
this, and you should be fine, theoretically speaking. Don't hold us to it. But it should flush out your system before you need to take any sort of like you use all like kind of mysterious jargon, nothing directly.
Now, is that something in training they put the fear of God into you because it's like a legality thing? Like they'll get in trouble, like they'll be on the hook for something, they'll get sued, or is it like, hey, we just don't want to be associated with drugs like that?
I don't remember if it was in a training or if it was just like my manager is very strict, and I think she might have been the one to be hey, for real, like if they come in and ask for anything like that, you got to turn them away right away, like no
Hmm.
questions asked, got to make them leave. She was mega strict, and I remember I told you I had to go to when you asked me about GNC, I had to go to court about GNC, right?
Yeah, you had to go to court. You said,
Yeah.
yeah, you did say
So
that.
my coworker, the really jacked one, he would when we'd have like on a weekday shift, we'd be like on the closing shift, right? Like nobody's going to GNC at like, it would be like I think the place we would even close at like 8:30 or something. Like, no one's coming in for at that time. And so like we usually close like maybe like 15 minutes early, like
Hmm.
half hour early if like no one's coming, no one's around. And so one day our this old lady, she stalked out the location and like she waited until 8:30 to see if we were closing, make sure we are closing on time, caught our manager like or this musclehead dude like closing us out early and she like fired him. And so
Wow.
he then called me to be his witness at court to call it an illegal firing and like basically say like, hey, he was unjustly fired. He deserves unemployment. He deserves this. He deserves that. And like I was like, dude, I'll go, but I'm not like gonna lie. I'm gonna tell I'm like if they ask me like direct questions, I'm gonna tell them that we're closing early and shit.
And then what he said? Did you end up doing it?
So I went with him to the courthouse. We go in front of like a judge or whatever, and he just like I've never seen a case dismissed with prejudice so quickly. Like he was just like, no, you're not getting shit. Like this isn't we're not going to court about this. Like you got no case. Like it was just not gonna happen.
Damn, dude. Yeah, that's like. How old were you again?
I think I had to be like 2021,
Imagine you
roughly
committing
about.
perjury at 21 for a chain supplement store.
No, absolutely not. It's like, dude, I'm not gonna like make shit up. I'm just gonna tell him exactly what happened, which is, but yeah, I didn't even have to. I didn't even have to go to a stand or anything. Like the guy just heard the basic arguments and he's like, this is not a case. Like,
it's
you're,
it's funny too because it's like, and am I right or wrong, Kenjac, where like a lot of the clientele was like high schoolers?
I would say it was a lot of high schoolers for sure. And then a lot of the times it was a lot of high schoolers that would come in with their parents, like
Okay.
mostly their dads. And their dads would interrupt every bit of the process. Like, because like these are guys that like the dads would never know anything about supplements or any of that shit, right?
Hmm.
Which like we didn't either, but whatever. We knew like I would elementary like slightly more than them. And they would constantly interrupt and try and say like, no, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. And like one of the basic things like we get taught, right, is like, hey, you don't need more than, I forget what the number is, like 30 grams of or 40 grams of protein a day. Like that's the max your body can possibly digest. The rest, especially with like hydrolyzed whey protein, like it just gets flushed out of your system. And this dad was telling us like, yeah, my son's having 200 grams of protein a day. And I'm just like, that doesn't seem like you shouldn't be taking that much supplemental protein on top of a diet. That doesn't feel right. And he's like, no, you're a fucking idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. Like these, like there's a lot of that with high schoolers and
Yeah.
like them know thinking they know more than you and all that. And then I would say a lot of like young 20s people trying to get in shape. That was a lot of it. And they're all looking for like the miracle pill,
Yeah. 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 hmm
which is lucky
yeah.
because like we had miracle pills that had great commission. So that was great.
So those are always an easy sell.
Yeah, there was one that we would always sell. I forget. I just remember it was a great box. I don't remember the name of it. But it was a $14 commission, and which is huge. Like the average commission you get is like $2.50 or something like
Oh,
that,
no
like
shit.
max. Yeah.
So it was
So
an
this one
hourly
is
hourly wage, and then you guys got paid per supplement,
yeah.
whatever you'd
We
sell.
get like paid minimum wage and then commission on top of that usually, and then like the managers would get like a bigger bump on their hourly rate.
Damn. So it
But
sounds like
like
if you're at a busy store and people are buying shit, you could make pretty decent money there, huh?
you could. The problem is when it's not busy, and the problem is like in order to make the extra money, you need to fuck up your quotas. Like you needed to like if I wanted to actually make money, like earn commission, I need to sell non-GNC products. And if I sell too many non-GNC products, then like they when they look at my manager would look at my stat sheet or whatever, and it's like, hey, you're selling only 10% of your products are GNC products. You're in like deep shit. So like the
hmm
only way you could make money is by having like an insane amount of volume, and that's also depending on if you can even direct customers to buy the thing you want them to buy, which is not guaranteed.
Yeah, it's such an interesting model where you're a store, but like you're gonna make a lot of your bread off of the margins on your own shit because from what I understand, the margin on supplements are insane.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine how disgusting it is because
Yeah,
like oh, it's bad. And a lot of those really the products that would give you the most commission are usually the shittiest, I would say.
really.
Like that same one that pill, the weight loss one, at the like the $15 commission, $14 commission. Like I'd have people come back and be like, yeah, I got like blotches on my skin. I don't know what's going on here. And I was just like, you gotta just sue them or something. I don't know. Don't talk to me about it. Like it's this
Yeah.
like you gotta read the side effects. I don't know, man. Like because like and that would happen with every product. Like there'd be someone that'd eat like which I did too. Would eat like 5 fiber bars in one sitting and be like, why did I shit my pants? And be like I don't know. Like it just affects different people different ways.
No shit. So there are a lot of people coming back and being like, "Hey, I had bad side effects to this thing."
Yeah, and we'd always like return it, but then that was another big thing because of the margins and or rather your like stat sheets on the sales and everything like that. Like you try to like defer returns to other employees. Like if I saw someone coming in with a GNC bag, I would like run to the back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like I'm going to the back. I'm not taking this return because that return is against your sales.
How the
No
fuck
matter
does that
who
make sense?
makes no sense. Like it would go like if I it doesn't matter if I didn't sell it to this guy in the first place. If some other guy sold it to him, he didn't like it, he comes back and returns it with me on my like register or whatever, like it would go against my numbers and it would fuck up my percentages, it would fuck up all my stuff.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it was really bad.
That's a
And like we
crazy
would
model.
constantly be deferring. It was everything about it was horrible. And from what I've heard, they've changed it since then, but it was like just a very dog eat dog kind of world where like it was impossible to help each other as employees. It was impossible to actually like help people that are coming in and while also helping yourself at the same time. There was no like everything was like parasitical. Like there was no symbiotic relationship in this at all. Like someone's getting fucked over no matter what.
I'm sure there was a major employee beef over that shit too.
For sure. Like
Yeah.
if like I would be pissed if like one of my coworkers sold some stupid shit and like they came and returned it to me because like again it would just screw all my stuff up and I'd be like you better like I would wait. I'd be like, dude, this is your return. I'll sir, please wait. He'll come and get you when he's done with this person. Like I'd do my best to make sure that it would not be me.
That's fucking crazy. Picture that. Someone just had a bad day. The miracle weight loss pill, someone just returned 3 or 4 in a row. You're like, dude, I lost money coming to work today.
Yeah, you lose everything. It'd be
Yeah.
crazy. The one thing though with those ones too, the commissions wouldn't be taken away. which is
Oh, okay.
nice.
All right. All right.
Like those would stay, but the numbers on everything else, like your total gross or whatever, was is also really important, like how much you're actually selling.
Yeah.
And like it would take away from that and it would
Ah,
take away
okay.
from your percentages.
I understand. I
Yeah.
understand. But yeah, going back to the high school, I just feel like that was such a thing when you're in high school. Like you'd spend like that was a major purchase for you. Like I just spent $40 on some protein. Like that was such a thing, you know?
Oh yeah. And there'd be I think one of the things I always hated about going to GNC was like I hated meat. I hated the salesperson going into GNC that would just sit there and talk my fucking ear off and do all that shit. And when I got that job, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then the
Hmm.
first thing they teach you is you need to go and greet every single person that comes into the store, no matter what. Which I don't think I really did. I think I was a reasonable salesman where I'd be like, here's everything I know. I'm not going to like, it wasn't like I would say overly push you on anything. I'd be like, here's everything I know about it and what you should be getting based on just like standard diet stuff. And that's it. If you like
Yeah.
it, great. If you don't, great, whatever.
Yeah, because that was really that was big too. Because people would, even if they were helping a customer checking out, they were always coming around that desk and coming into whatever aisle you were. There was no avoiding the people. That's
You
for
would just see
sure.
him with the fucking lanyard and the red shirt, just like peeking out of the corner. It was just hell. I
And,
hated them before I was a GNC employee. I hated myself as a GNC employee. So I tried to do my best to like not be that guy and just
yeah,
kind of wait around and just kind of let them come to me.
and I hate to throw this out there too because for people listening, like, and I think like people are gonna scam every system, and maybe they've changed this, but I had a buddy who worked there once at one point, and he told me that the return policy is so insane you could have one scoop of protein left, and they'll still have to take it back.
There was a lot of weird stuff with it. Yeah. There'd be people that would like we would have kind of guesses what actually happened because like the dates between stuff wouldn't make sense. Like it would be a situation like that where they'd come to return like a big thing of like protein, giant, and they'd be like almost done after only having it for like a week. And it's like that's not physically possible, which in my brain I'm like they just dumped half of this into a Ziploc bag
Mm-hmm.
and just came back to return it. You know what I mean? And at that point, like you do have to return it. And especially if it's a GNC brand thing, like that's like accepting a return on that was like suicide. Like you couldn't do because that fucked up your percentages so bad.
Mm-hmm.
So those are really rough, especially when like you because you can't call out a customer for it. You know what I mean? Because then you get an even deeper shit.
Yeah.
But that stuff would happen a lot.
Yeah, I
And
assume
there's a lot
some of
of
that's changed, like LL Bean, like they couldn't give the lifetime warranty forever, so that sucks. But people are going to game the system, whatever it is, you know.
that had to have changed. But that always sucked. And then also what sucked was there was something they had called a gold card, the GNC gold card, and having to push that on every single person. And like that was another percentage. Like you're supposed to be signing up a certain amount of people for their like loyalty rewards card per whatever cycle, like a month. And like pushing that also sucked because the benefits were so shitty on it. So and like you were paying like per monthly thing on it. It was so everything about that job was the absolute fucking worst. Everything, top to bottom. It was terrible.
And I should say too, there has to be the number one question I'm going to guess, and you tell me if it's right or wrong. But I assume back in those days, because how old are you, Kenjac?
Just turned 31.
All right, 30. So I'm 2 years older than you. Um, is creatine bad for me? There's that like that has to be one of the top questions.
We would always get that question. And the answer I remember telling people was that, like, if you're trying to look bigger, creatine's good because the understanding that we were, at least I was given by again, training there and people that work there was like, what creatine does is it makes your cells absorb more water. So, like, especially like on like in your muscle and your skin and your fat. So, like, it makes you look more swole but it's almost a majority water weight. That was my understanding from what they had taught me. Again, could be totally wrong. Was that like you make your cells, you drink more water as you take in more creatine, and it makes you look bigger, but it's not like a sustainable sort of thing. So I don't know if I would say good or bad for you, as so much doesn't really do a ton as far as like sustained muscle gain.
Okay, yeah. So that was like the main question that you were asked.
I would say that was a big one. How much protein should be taking? They would ask like macro questions and like a lot of those like I was just like not prepared to answer. I'm like it just depends person to person.
Yeah, yeah.
But like a lot of that stuff, a lot of like what weight loss pills should we be taking? What pre-workout should I be taking? Is this thing safe? Is this chemical? This like a lot of I would say a lot of the same questions with that. I'd say again the number one most requested question weirdly enough, was the drug test era thing. And I'm not in some like insanely scummy GNC area or something like that. It was a pretty regular location in South Long Island, like pretty regular spot. And but that was one of the number one things. And then I would say creatine was for sure up near the top because that's like an additional purchase. You know what I mean? Like protein would be like a base thing, like you just kind of need to buy it if you're getting into working
Hmm.
out. And like pre-workout would be like the next big thing. And then there'd be like mass gainer, which is like just like basically protein powder with a shit ton more calories and like fat content in it and stuff like that, and carbs. And then there'd be after that would be like creatine. So
Hmm.
that would be for people that are trying to bulk up. And that would be another big question too, is just like what should I be doing to bulk? What should I be doing to, get thinner? Like, hey, you want to build definition, more reps, less weight. You want to build mass, more weight, less reps. That was the basic line we were taught.
Hmm. Yeah, because there was definitely that period in that era where creatine was like the
Oh
hot
yeah.
talking point, and so was like those pre-workouts. Like, oh, if you do want to explode, like you could have a heart attack. There was always crazy shit like that. I remember.
We would people would be making their own pre-workouts. Like there'd be people that come in for like the Jacked 3D, but there'd be people I remember there was people that would make this thing, they would talk to us about it called hyphy mud. Hyphy mud was a mixture of coffee grounds, Coca-Cola, and pre-workout that you would mix in a like a bottle or whatever, and you stir it up, and you just drink like I think it was might have been instant coffee and like instant coffee, Coca-Cola, and pre-workout, and you just chug that, and they're like, yeah, I'm like going crazy off the hyphy mud. It was crazy, a really crazy time in fitness.
That's insane. Jack 3D was the truth, though. That was the real deal.
I tried it once ever, and it was absolutely insane.
It was nuts.
It was like Adderall times two or something. It was absolutely batshit crazy. And then the new formula was just like nothing the same, and it
Yeah,
was very difficult to try and get people to buy the new one because again they were like tweaking.
yeah. I
It was like
wonder
they're
if
on
anybody
drugs.
has any of the original formula laying around somewhere.
I assume whoever there has to be people that had like the last few pallets of it. It's like the last chopper out of Nam or something like that. You know what I mean? Just fill with crates of this literal meth. And I think that there was like a big secondary market for it. Like people were selling it on eBay for like way jacked up, no pun intended, jacked up prices.
Yeah. Now, is there what about the products that kept getting pulled like that? Like, is there any, like, because like, pretty much, like, everything gets through and then they pull stuff after, I don't know. There's like a weird process. I don't know if you ever seen the documentary Bigger, Stronger, Faster. It's a great one I think it's still on Netflix, but there's some, I don't know. The FDA is like a weird process on
Mhm.
supplements like this.
Yeah, I think there was like it's almost like it's not like a trial period, but like there'd be like you could improve it for sale, but then like they'd have to like a secondary, like some constant check and balance thing. And that every time I like read a bit more about like that sort of process of the FDA, whether it's like Pfizer or whatever else, like it's crazy how people can go from working at like the FDA to working at like well whatever if it was like a GNC like or some major like Optum or not say Optum some other company like you could go from working at a seller of these products to working at the FDA and vice versa like that should be a no no
Yeah, it
matter
was
what
like dope
that's
sick. The
yeah
Oxycontin thing, the Sackler family. They got, I know it's crazy. It was like one guy had to approve Oxy, and it was like completely changed the fucking country.
exactly
You
and
know?
like there should absolutely be no crossover there that's insane to me
Yeah.
but that's nuts and there would be a lot of pulling of products I would say for the most part, the products that would get pulled, were rarely, at least the ones that like we would pull and like have to like turn over, were rarely very popular ones. Because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it would mostly like the biggest, most popular one was like Jack 3D. And again, that was like right as I had started. And the like would mostly be like other random mostly things that involve like the heart and like blood pressure and stuff like that. Because we would sell like medicinal stuff too. So like it would be like horny goat weed or some bullshit that like is supposed to make you're more virile and like they'd be pulling that. I remember they sold I forget what brand it was. There's a Frank Thomas was like the spokesman for them. It might have been Eugenics,
Yeah, you're right.
thinking.
It was
Yeah, it was
Nugenics, yes. He still
the
is, I
Frank
think.
one of the Frank Thomas ones we had to pull, I'm pretty sure. And like all those other testosterone sexual products, like they were constantly getting cycled in and out. Like they didn't know what would do what for which. And like the people that were taking that were usually maybe more susceptible hearts, and like they would be going
Mm,
down on a quicker rate.
mm.
But those are tough. A lot of prenatal turnover too. And prenatal, one of my worst stories at GNC was with prenatal. there was this woman that came in and she didn't really speak a lot of English and she had like the roundest belly and she's like comes up to me. She doesn't speak Spanish. I don't speak any. I'm like, what do you want? Like, what are you interested in getting? Like, I'm trying to like pantomime it out. And she just like points at like this rotund belly, roundest belly you've ever seen. And she just goes like this. And I'm like, okay. So I bring her over to prenatal. I'm like, here's like all the prenatal stuff. And she goes, no pregnant, not pregnant. And I was just
Oh.
like, what do you do? Like, it was the most insane distribution of fat I've ever seen on a human. Like, because the rest of her body completely normal, like regular proportion, and then just like a literal like purely round belly, like Santa Claus or something. But then the rest was like just very skinny. It made no sense. But
It's
that was one
tough.
of the worst moments I think I've ever had as an employee of any. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah, it's tough.
That
That's
was really
tough.
rough. But yeah, those are the big two turnover spots, and I would say like maybe the organic stuff would get a lot of turnover too, because that's probably I'm assuming people lie about that stuff all the time, like
Yeah.
the green supplements and stuff like that.
I remember a thing called Omnivol was big. I don't know if you remember that.
Omniball.
Yeah. It's like, hey,
Was that one of those
it's like it's not
because the
steroids,
cattle
but it's right under it. Like it's
yeah,
or
all
methyl 1D. Yeah.
the test cycle products like I think P6 and a couple of the other ones and they would sell like crazy. But then the ones there was like two kind of separate worlds for them, the testosterone cycles. It would be like the testosterone stuff that's for working out, and then there'd be like this testosterone stuff for like libido. And I would say the libido stuff sold out way more. Like people
Mm,
would buy that shit up like crazy.
really? And,
Yeah, and they'd
and
be
any other like stories or anything that we didn't get to, or is there?
um the fiber bar lesson was tough. That was we like when shit would expire, you'd obviously throw it out. But like the one of the things like expiring things is like the expiration date with like those sort of packaged things is like that date is when it begins to expire. Like you should get rid of it because it's starting to expire. At least like that's like the nomenclature, I guess. But we had like this giant box of like it was like a reputable brand. I forget which one, like fiber bars. And like they were gonna throw them in the dumpster, and I was like, "Oh, can I just like take these?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure, we're gonna dump them anyway." So I took them and like not even putting together in my brain because they were like meal replacement bars. I didn't think of them as like fiber bars because like the whole thing is you eat this and you can skip a meal, whatever. And so I ate like three or four of these things, like legit, like I don't know how many grams of fiber, a lot of fiber. I didn't even put it together in my head because again, just thought like, oh, it's just a bunch of fucking protein. I had to go home. I was shitting so bad. It fucked my stomach up so bad for like 3 days straight, eating expired fiber bars from fucking GNC, which seems like a big no brainer, right? Like, yeah, no shit, your stomach got screwed up. But I was like, oh, a bunch of meal replacement bars, no big deal. Killed me dead.
Were you taking clean dumps though?
They were pretty clean. It's just like
Yeah.
this, my stomach was in shambles. It felt like literally like somebody was just like gripping the bottom part of like my stomach, like right in my gut, and it could not move. That was a rough day at GNC. Going to court for them was bad. Uh, there was this one guy that would always come in. He was a like we in my mall. My GNC was in a mall, and he was like this dude who's like I guess a line cook at the IHOP there. Which, by the way, IHOP something I never learned until later in life. IHOP does great lunch, great
Really?
lunch. Yeah, great burgers. Like I know
Really?
they did the IHOP thing, but I knew this way before the stupid brand change they did. They had a great lunch service.
That's
But one
interesting.
of their line cooks would come in with two girls on his arm like once a month and just make like a $500 purchase every single month. And I would always love getting him because he would just he'd buy the miracle weight loss pill. He'd buy like the every P3 product we had. Like he'd hit my entire monthly quota just in one visit. And it was incredible. That guy was best.
Shout out to him, the line cook at IHOP.
Yeah, the line cook at the IHOP in Bayshore. I love that dude.
The man, you got to go pay your respects again sometime.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Anything else like GNC or Vitamin Shop related that we didn't get to?
I don't know a ton about Vitamin Shop. There was a Vitamin Shop like across that was actually I'm glad you brought that up. There was a Vitamin Shop like in our plaza for the mall. Whenever somebody would come in for a product that was too small to purchase, because that also brought your stats down. You wanted like your average purchase number to be like $40. So if someone came in and they're like, yeah, I'm trying to buy like a couple of meal replacement shakes, which would be like a $6 purchase. If they came in and they tried to buy something like that, constantly employees would be like, oh, we don't have that here. Go to Vitamin Shop. So like if they were making a purchase that we knew would like fuck up our numbers, we essentially say we don't have that, head to Vitamin Shop. They're right across the way, just because they wouldn't fuck up our numbers.
That's mind-boggling business by GNC.
It's insane. That's how bad this system that they rigged up was, because it was so beneficial to be a bad employee the way that they set up their entire structure. And again, maybe different GNC employees had different, and it was just the way like my manager ran things. Like it was just such a bad business model. And again, from what I've heard, they've changed it. So I'm assuming that they kind of caught on to that too. But we do that all the time. Like, I'm trying to buy like a couple of whatever small item purchase. Like I'm trying to buy like a meal replacement bar. Like to be right in front of the cash wrap, and I just be like, nah, sorry, these are all expired. Like head to Vitamin Shop. Like it was insane how bad this business model was.
Because that's such a common stop. Like if you just went to the, hey, let me get an iso pure and a Quest bar, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you just walk out, I wouldn't think that it's like they don't want you doing that.
Yeah, and they would be trying to, if they were trying to buy anything that was a no commission or non-GNC product, fucking I'm here in Vitamin Shop right across the way. It's a short walk.
They had to have changed that. They had to have changed it.
Dude, it was so bad. Like it was so simple too. Like if they just like made it a higher hourly rate and be like, hey, just in general, you should be trying to push GNC products a little bit more. It would be significantly better. And like if it wasn't like our manager, the way she would constantly put it to us was like, hey, if you're not hitting these certain numbers, like you're going to be like on like essentially a probation, like you're going to get canned, then it'd be a totally different story. Like if I was like, yeah, if I'm dropping below 40% or like my average purchase price is low or I'm not hitting these, it's like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's just, that's the goal. That's fine. Yeah, no, who cares? But we were like, the way we were instilled with pure fear was so bad. So bad.
Tough. Any questions for Kenjac, Lance, before we wrap up?
No, you answered my creatine question. That was a big thing I was coming in and I was going to ask that. I was really curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think you nailed it.
All right. Yeah.
Big inflation. That was creatine. Is all we were taught was that it's a big inflator.
Yeah. Just putting the water in there. Yeah. I think we could wrap this up, Kenjac. I know we're at Barstool or Quest people, and we're Optimum Nutrition people. So go check those out. Obviously, there's good stuff at these places. This is just the retailer and shit we're talking about. So.
Yeah, of course. And by the way, like without like not being a homer for Optimum Nutrition, like their products were always great. And I still use Optimum Nutrition products for everything I use for the gym.
And I love
C4 Quest. Is still like I think my favorite. Yeah, it's definitely my favorite pre-workout.
Yeah, it's great. Their standard way is great. And then I love Quest Hero Bars. Those are awesome.
Hydrolyzed was always good. And their P6 stuff, again, their workout cycle stuff. And I don't know if they sell any of this anymore, but like that stuff would always sell really well.
Yeah, well, Kenjac, this was great. It's always great to chat with you. Usually we're talking movies or dumb draft topics. Who would have thought us two would be talking supplements, brother?
No one has ever wanted to talk about any of this stuff. So I've always been dying. Like I'll bring it up every now and then in like a pod or something like, but it can only ever be in glancing because no one ever wants to talk about that stuff.
Yeah, no, it was good to hear. And I should say thank you too. We had a bunch of people reach out that worked at GNC or still work there. To read a guy, St. Brennan reached out. Thank you for inquiring. Obviously I got to go with my guy Kenjac here to chop it up. So
thanks so much for having me, Eddie.
Yeah, appreciate it. And hopefully things have changed, and I hope we hear from people and be like, yeah, GNC, we're on the straight and narrow now. So
I hope so. I truly, truly, truly hope so.
Yeah. All right then. Thanks, Kenjac.
No problem.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll see you Monday for a draft.